The tightrope walk that has been a hallmark of India's diplomacy since the start of the Ukraine war proved to be the host country's trump card during the just concluded G20 summit. The challenge for India was to antagonize neither the Isled West nor old ally Russia over the raging conflict in Eastern Europe. New Delhi pulled it off with aplomb. The G20 leaders' declaration, which was adopted by consensus, deftly avoided any mention of the Russian invasion of Ukraine but did make a general call to all nations to follow the principle of respecting each other's territorial integrity and sovereignty. Much to India's delight and satisfaction, both Russia and the Western powers claimed that their respective positions on the Ukraine crisis had been vindicated. Russian Foreign Minister, who attended the summit in the absence of President Putin, said the West had failed to Ukrainize G20 largely due to the efforts by the developing countries. Lauding India's presidency, he called the summit a breakthrough event that had given clear guidelines for achieving goals such as ensuring a balance of interests in the global economy. On the other hand, French President said the declaration had confirmed Russia's isolation, adding that the bloc was committed to just and lasting peace in war-torn Ukraine. Notably, the declaration released at the G20's Bali summit last year had condemned in the strongest terms Russian aggression against Ukraine. It goes to New Delhi's credit that the Western powers did a climb down on the conflict this time. Considering India's growing clout on global platforms, offending or embarrassing the host nation was not an option for the West. A key takeaway from the G20 summit is that India is not a country to be trifled with. The event's success is also an enthusiastic endorsement of New Delhi's independent foreign policy. Calling for an urgent intervention by the government is the unfortunate consequence of the heavy spells of monsoon fury that Himachal Pradesh faced this season. The education of thousands of school children remains disrupted, even as the rains have abated. While the schools were initially shut for nearly a month from mid-July as the rains battered the state, the children's studies are now being impacted by the damage to school buildings across the areas hit by floods and landslides in Mandi, Kullu and Shimla. Mandi seems to have suffered the most as 385 schools in the district have been fully or partially damaged. While some buildings have been reduced to rubble, others have developed cracks. The teachers are either holding classes at makeshift places such as temples or opting for the online mode. Obviously, these are inadequate substitutes. Moreover, internet connectivity in remote areas is a challenge. It is a pity that the state has not been getting due attention from the center in its endeavor to recover from the massive destruction. The losses are estimated to be around 12,000 crore rupees. The state and its citizens have suffered as buildings collapsed, Roads sunk and bridges crumbled in the ravaging floods and landslides. Prime Minister Modi must look into CM Sukhwinder Singh Sukhu's request for a special relief package. Meanwhile, the HP Education Department has pegged the loss to the school buildings at 30 crore rupees. The state must sanction this amount on priority so that the schools become functional at the earliest. The temporary arrangements should be assessed, and if found wanting, alternative sites should be identified. No child should be deprived of quality education. We do not know whether the strong rumor referred to by a Pune correspondent of the Lokmanya that Mahatma Gandhi is about to be released has any real foundation or is merely a conjecture, such as people have occasionally indulged in during the last 6 months or so. The conjecture, it must be remembered, has not been confined to persons entirely friendly to Mahatma and his movement, with whom naturally the wish is father to the thought. We well remember a liberal journal in Upper India asking Messrs. C.R. Das and Motilal Nehru some months ago what they would do if the government released Mahatma at the psychological moment, that is immediately before the contests for council elections began in right earnest, and whether they would not in that event be forced to make their choice between the councils and the Congress. Whatever motive may have inspired the question, it is difficult to deny either that the same question has occurred to others besides the journal to which we have referred, or that the psychological moment of which the writer was thinking has arrived, and it may well be that someone who is more anxious that the council entry movement should be killed than that the Mahatma should be free has set the rumor in circulation in view of the ensuing session of the Congress. On the other hand, it is not improbable that from motives of an altogether different kind, the government has at last decided to right the grievous wrong it did to itself and to India by imprisoning the saintliest man in the country, perhaps in the world.